some character 10 of name of 10. Some name it is having, right? And I can say there can be n number of factors, but I'm just taking 3. And I'm saying this person can have different functionalities, can walk, can talk, can read, can write, can code, and so on and so forth. All right. So at this point of time, I will say there is a person. Just give me a second. So I'll take this over here. Okay. All right. So let us say there is a person who is having these many attributes, which is called as ID, name, and age. That person can have the attribute or can perform some functionality, then the maybe a walk, talk, read, code, and write. So I will say when I'm declaring any entity in my program, at this point of time, whatever number of the attributes that I'm using or I'm specifying for some particular entity, those are called as data members. Those are called as data members. That means whatever variables I will be declaring into this particular entity, in that case, those are called as data members, data fields, and of class person. Why of class person? Because they are specifying the attributes for my person entity. Similarly, when I talk about the remaining thing, walk, talk, read, write, code, can I say all these are nothing but different functions that a person can perform? Yes. If yes, then these are called as functions. But why they are called as member functions? It is because they are the members of the entity person. They are called as member function. So in an entity, in any entity, anything that you take may have some kind of data members, that is fields, or you can say, or may have something called as member functions. That is basically the functions that specifies walk, talk, read, code, and write, and so on. Now, can I say this person is a logical entity? It is because it is logically available for me, right? But जब तक मैं इस person को कुछ नाम नहीं देती हूँ, till that time, I will not say, if I say just a person, what comes in your mind? It's logically any human being which is having some attributes which can perform some operations, right? Or some functions. But if I'm going little bit specific, I am saying person P1. Person P1. In this case, can I say I am more specific to it and I am talking about something which is physically having existence? That's why this, can I say it can be a physically entity? If I talk only about person, it can have any number of data members, member functions, and so on. But if I talk about, let us say, Akshita being a person, that means I am physically present and I have some kind of attributes. I may perform some functions. Are you getting up to this point? Right. Similarly, if I say I have person P2. Okay. Yes, I have person P2. Again, it's a physical existence of some person. That is why it is called as physical entity. So when I'm talking in a generic way, anything which is in existence, but it is not being as a physically available, आप सिर्फ visualize कर सकते हो, right? आप सोच सकते हो कि yes, this is a logical entity which is available in the universe, and when I'm talking about specific person, then it is a physical entity. Now, there might be the scenario, obviously, when I'm talking about this person, that person may have some ID, that person may have some name, and that person may have some name too. I'll just copy it over here. Similarly, when I'm talking about person P2, that person may have ID, may have age, and may have name. All right. Now, the second important point over here is there might be the possibility where person P1 can walk, person P1 can talk, person P1 can read, person P1 can write, person P1 can code. There might be the scenario where this person P2 can walk, person P2 can talk, person P2 can just read. Maybe that person is unable to write, or maybe that person is unable to code. Is this can be the real-time scenario every time? Yes, of course, right? So if I'm talking about a person, it may have some age, it may have some name, it may have some ID, right? But when I'm talking about any person, it is not compulsory that whatever functions one single person is performing, other may perform exactly the same functions. It may be the choice of the person that what functions or what the functionality that I need to perform, right? So by looking at the scenario, when you are talking about the existence of any logical entity, that is basically called as class. But when class is not an action, class is just a logical entity which is just kind of you are aware about it. But when I say I'm coming into action to perform these functionalities, I have a physical existence. I may have a memory allocated for me for inside my machine. Then that is basically called as object. So have you understood what is the meaning of class and object? So you can say, and anything which is in action is nothing but object, and anything which is logically available is nothing but class. So class is called as logical entity and object is called as physical entity. Second important point, if you observe, when I have talked about person P1, that person is having ID, that person is having age, that person is having name, means can I say data members receives the memory inside the object. Can I conclude like this? Data members receives the memory inside the object. Do my member function gets the memory inside the object? Answer is a no. The reason behind that is it is not necessary कि मैं क्यों यहाँ पे मेरा memory waste करूँ ना कि P1 को सारे functions की functionality दे दूँ फिर P1 उसके ऊपर. No. So when you talk about a class, it is a logical entity. When you talk about object, it is a physical entity. And when you are saying person which is having three fields, which is having member functions, and I'm talking about P1 and P2, these are called as objects, and objects receives the memory exactly same whatever number of data members are present into that class, right? Now the question comes over here is, हमने तो स्ट्रक्चर भी किया था, राइट? हमने स्ट्रक्चर किया था, स्ट्रक्चर में भी फील्ड्स थे, स्ट्रक्चर में भी मेंबर फंक्शंस थे, स्ट्रक्चर का वेरिएबल बनाया, डॉट ऑपरेटर से हमने एक्सेस किया. देन व्हाई डू वी नीड अ क्लास? The reason behind that is when you wish to implement object oriented concepts, like you wish to achieve inheritance, when you wish to go for classes and object, when you wish to go for you can say polymorphism concept, when you wish to go for function overriding concept, when you wish to go for virtual functions, in those kind of, you can say, object-oriented concepts, we cannot inherit structure. We cannot go ahead with the structure. In that case, we have another building block, which is called as class and object. So when I say I wish to implement object-oriented concepts, in that case, I require compulsory a class and the object as a first major important building block for writing the program. समझ में आया? What do you mean by class and what do you mean by object? If yes, then we will take one example and I will explain you with the help of example. That means we will take one example of class and object. Yes. Any questions so far? No. Shall we write a code? All right. So let us start writing the code, in which, let me take one simple example. So first question comes, how do we declare class? I declare a class with the help of keyword called as class. I will have, let us say, class name as a complex. जैसे हम स्ट्रक्चर डिक्लेयर करते थे, वैसे ही हमें सिर्फ यहाँ पे क्लास डिक्लेयर करना है with the help of class, and it ends with a semicolon. This is what is the syntax part of declaration of class. Inside the class, I'm writing integer real. Maybe I have two fields, integer imaginary. Inside the class, let us say I'm writing one accept function and I'm defining it. And maybe I have one display function and let us say I will define it. Inside this accept function, I will ask from user, enter real value. And inside this, I'll accept this real. Again, I'll ask from user, enter imaginary value, and I'll say cin imaginary. I hope you are comfortable in function definition part now. Everyone. Right. Inside this display function, I will say real value is equal to real and imaginary, whatever value I will receive, I will say image. So this is what is basically, I am trying to write an accept function and write a display function. The way we were having the structure declaration, exactly it is same. Here, these are called as data members and these are called as member functions. Why they are member functions? Because they belong to one same scope called as class complex. So they are they are the members of the class complex. That is called as member function. यहाँ तक समझ में आया? Everyone. अब आपको याद रहेगा कि जब भी हम स्ट्रक्चर लिखते थे, एंड इफ आई विश टू एक्सेस दी स्ट्रक्चर एलिमेंट्स, तो हम स्ट्रक्चर के लिए एक वेरिएबल बनाते थे. डू यू रिमेंबर? राइट. Why do we use variable of structure? Because we wanted to access the data members and the member functions of the structure. Similarly, to access the data members and member function of class, what we create? We create object. Object is also called as instance of the class. How to create object? My class name is complex. C1 is the object. Can I give a call c1.accept? Yes. Can I give a call c1.display? Yes. Now, by rule, if you consider, I am talking about accept and display. It should go into this accept function and it should go into the display function, right? It will not go, it will give us error. Let us first read the error. Can you say, I am getting the error? Okay, no, it's not a variable name declaration. Take it. Just I'll change it. I'll just clear it and just check it. It's giving me error. The error says that void complex except is private within the context. मतलब मेंबर फंक्शन जो एक्सेप्ट है ये प्राइवेटली डिक्लेयर किया हुआ है. Display function is also private within the context. If anything is private, in that case, can I access it outside the scope? Can I access it outside the scope? Obviously, no. That means, can I also conclude by default class members? Members can be data members और member functions. दोनों भी हो सकते हैं. डेटा मेंबर्स मतलब जितने भी आप वेरिएबल्स डिक्लेयर करते हो क्लास के अंदर उनको हम डेटा मेंबर्स बोलते हैं. जितने भी फंक्शंस आप क्लास के अंदर डिक्लेयर करते हो दैट इज कॉल्ड एज मेंबर फंक्शंस. सो बाय डिफॉल्ट all the class members, that is data members or member functions, are private. Can you please tell me, in case of structure, by default data members and member functions are public. In case of class, by default data members are private, right? So what I should do over here, I should use something called as public. Now the question is, अगर मैं सब कुछ public में लिखती हूँ, data members, member functions, let us observe, will I get the accessibility now first? Let us check. Of course, we will get the accessibility. No compile time error. It's asking me enter the real value, enter the imaginary value, and I'm getting 20 and 5. So how does this work? Let us observe. Suppose I'm creating one more complex C2. And I'm saying C2.real is equal to 30 and C2.imaginary is equal to 40. And I'm saying now please display C2.display. Let us understand the flow of the program with the help of diagram. So I have created a class complex, right? So let me quickly create a class complex. It is having two fields. One is imaginary, another is real. So this will be two data members which are declared into this, right? I have created a class complex. So I'll just take this from here only. This is my class complex. So I've created a class complex. Inside this, I have a void except function, and inside this, I have a void display function. I'm not writing the definition part, you must understand it. So this is my class, basically declaration. I have created complex C1 and complex C2. So when I say I'm creating complex C1 and complex C2, it means these are called as objects which have this as a memory space allocated. And when I say, when I'm writing this complex C1 and complex C2, can you please observe 100% I will get the data for real and 100% I'll get something called as imaginary. That means inside the object, I have got the memory space for real. I have got the memory space for, you can say, imaginary. Do you all agree up to this point? This is my real and this is the imaginary. Similarly, here also I'll get real value and here also I'll get some imaginary value. Okay, so this is, I'm just creating a square bracket. This is the memory which is allocated. Now, in my program, I have written C2.real is equal to 30, C2.imaginary is equal to 40. Means, can I say over here, this will be set to 30. This will be set to 30 and this will be set to 40. Yes or no, everyone? Similarly, if I'm asking from user C1, let us say user is saying C1 is 10, user is saying C2 is a 5. What does this mean? This means that C1 is the object which is having its own physical existence, who is having real and imaginary value like this. C2 is another object who is having 30 and 40 as a values. After that, I have asked for प्लीज टेल मी, मतलब कॉम्प्लेक्स C1 ने किसको कॉल किया था, एक एक्सेप्ट को कॉल किया था एंड C1 ने फिर डिस्प्ले को कॉल किया. बट कॉम्प्लेक्स C2 ने किसको कॉल किया, कॉम्प्लेक्स C2 ने सिर्फ डिस्प्ले को कॉल किया विच इज गोइंग टू डिस्प्ले द डेटा. नाउ प्लीज ऑब्जर्व, कैन आई से हियर एक्सेप्ट फंक्शन is called upon which object? Except function is called upon which object? C1 object. इसलिए तो वो C1 के रियल एंड इमेजिनरी पे पॉइंट कर रहा है. आर यू अंडरस्टैंडिंग द सिनारियो? Display function is called upon again C1 object. Here display function is called upon which object? C2 object. So when I have given accept function call, it is asking me, give me the numbers, and I'll just save this first. Let us compile. Right? Whenever I've given accept function call, it is giving me 5, it is giving me 3, and can you see C1 dot display kiya, it have displayed the values of C1 object, C2 dot display kiya, it have given me the values for C2 object. Is it okay? Did you all get up to this point? The flow of creation of class and object and accessing the fields. Now the next point that comes over here is, okay Hardik, first of all, understand the flow from main because your program will start from main. Okay. Okay. Understand one more time. We have created complex C1. So C1 is one object, real and imaginary, it will get. We have created complex C2. C2 का object को memory मिलेगा. Whenever I'm saying object will get a space into it, that means object के अंदर real and imaginary आ जाएगा. मैंने C2 dot real की value set किया 30. So C2 dot real की value will be set as 30. I have set C2 dot imaginary value as 40. So C2 dot imaginary value is 40. I have said C1 dot accept. It will go inside the accept function. What is there in accept function? It is asking enter the real value, enter the imaginary value. But on which object I have given a call? C1. So obviously वो C1 current object के real के value set करेगा and current object के imaginary value it will set it for me. After that, I have given a call to C1 dot display. Which object dot display? C1 dot display. It will go inside the display function. It will display real and imaginary value of display function. Later on, I have given a call to C2 dot display. It will go to C2 dot display. That means it will go to again display function definition and display. Current object is C2. The value is the function is called over the object C2. So it is going to display 100% C2 variable key value. Are you getting? I hope now the flow is clear to everyone. All right. Now, C2 values are entered, so only display. Yes, Anirudh, it is because मैंने यहाँ पे manually data fields को access किया है. I hope you remember, कल मैंने आपको access specifiers बताए थे public and private. Do you remember? In case of structure. Now, can you also observe? Suppose अब मैं C2 dot imaginary 40 लिखा, C2 dot real is equal to 30. It was possible only because they were declared as public. But I hope you remember, normally whenever we go for declaration of structure or the class, we create the fields of the structure or the class as private. Do you remember? So what I'll say, I will declare, I'll take the same code. I will declare by default, these are private. If you precede a private keyword, then it is okay. If you do not precede it, then also it will be considered as private. Okay, so अगर आपने यहाँ पे प्राइवेट लिखा तो डेटा मेंबर्स will be private and member functions will be public if you proceeded public. The reason I have explained over here is if we wish to access the private data members of class, then we can access them using member functions of that class. याद है क्या? Everyone. All right. So as I'm saying private, can I say I'm achieving something called as data hiding? Yes. Also, here comes one more terminology called as encapsulation. What is encapsulation? Binding of data and code or data and code together is encapsulation. Can I say मेरे एक ही class के अंदर I have members as well as I have a data members and the member function enclosed or bound in one single scope in a single scope. That concept is called as encapsulation. Have you understood? So class is the best example for encapsulation. अब आप observe कीजिए. If I say real and imaginary, I have declared it as private. Will this sentence will be allowed? Can you observe line number 30? Here it is giving me, it is declared private here. Integer imaginary is private here. Private here. Means you cannot give a call to data members directly outside its class. अगर मुझे C1 के साथ accept करना है, I have to give a call on C1.accept. If I wish to go for C2, I have to give a call to C2.accept. Is it okay? Hope you are getting it. Enter real value, enter imaginary value, enter real value, enter imaginary value. Is it displaying the same details properly? समझ में आया? Yes or no? Okay. Any questions so far? All right. If no, then let us proceed. So I will take the same example, class complex except display. And maybe I'll take the same main function too. Okay. The flow of the program remains same, but what I need is, मुझे class को अभी यहाँ पे, can you please tell me in one class how many functions I have defined? 2. Suppose in my class I have many functions. In that case, basically, when I say I have many functions are there in the class, it will be very difficult for me to define the function inside the class scope. What I'll do, I'll just write the declaration part, void accept and void display. That's it. अब आप ऑब्जर्व कीजिए, क्या मेरे क्लास का स्केलेटन कम हो गया क्या? It is like just a skeleton which I'm giving it to the user that okay, this is my class, these are the data members and these are the member functions. So if we wish to define the class functions outside the class scope, we use scope resolution operator. The third use of scope resolution. अगर मैंने क्लास के अंदर सिर्फ डिक्लेरेशन किया है, कैन यू सी आई हैव ओनली परफॉर्म द डिक्लेरेशन पार्ट ऑन लाइन नंबर 13 and 14? Yes. It means that if we just wish to declare it within the class scope, but I need to define it, obviously, when I say I need to define it outside the class, then which operator we use? We use scope resolution operator. यहां तक समझ में आया? The third need of scope resolution. All right. Now the question comes, what is the syntax for it? Am I defining, please observe, am I defining the member function outside the class? Everyone? Obviously yes. अब मैंने यहाँ पे outside the class suppose define किया. Defining member function outside the class. All right. Now please understand, this is the syntax that you need to remember. I'll remove this for timing. First of all, कौन सा function define करना है? First of all, can you please tell me which function I am defining outside the class? What is the function name? Except is the function name. I'll write the same thing. Next, कौन से क्लास का फंक्शन है ये? कॉम्प्लेक्स क्लास का. So I will write scope resolution and I'll write complex. Do my except function is having which kind of return type, or what return type my except function is having? Void. So I'll write void. Did you understand the syntax? This you have to remember. This is how the syntax is. I'll repeat once again. I need to specify display function outside the class. Okay. So I will write which function I need to specify outside the class? Display function. I'll write the same. Display function belongs to which class? Scope resolution complex. Is my display function is having any return type? Void. Write it like this. So you need to remember the syntax as return type, class name, scope resolution, function name. Now, अगर मैं सिर्फ void display लिखती थी, क्वेश्चन ऐसे भी आपके माइंड में आएगा, मैम अगर void except इधर ही पूरा डिफाइन किया तो क्या होगा? कैन आई से एट दैट पॉइंट ये ग्लोबल फंक्शन हो जाता था? यस और नो? मुझे ग्लोबल फंक्शन नहीं डिफाइन करना है, मुझे किसी क्लास का फंक्शन आउटसाइड द स्कोप डिफाइन करना है, एंड दैट इज व्हाई वी कैन गो फॉर स्कोप रिजोल्यूशन ऑपरेटर. समझ में आया everyone? Is it okay? All right, let us compile this code and check it out. It will work in the similar way only, but the thing is हमने यहाँ पे खुद से function को outside the class define किया. That is called as defining the class outside the scope. Okay? Did you all understand the next use of scope? Sorry, scope resolution operator. All right, shall we go ahead? Okay, now let us say I'm writing day2_3.cpp. I'll say int main void and I'll say return 0. Now assume I have two numbers, int n1 and n2. Okay, and suppose I have something called as a function, maybe void set function. And inside this set function, maybe I'm passing int num1 and int num2. I'm saying n1 is equal to num1, n2 is equal to num2. I'm writing display where you can define it outside using scope resolution. I'm printing n1 value and I'm printing n2 value. So this is the class declaration. Let us say I have a class demo and I have performed this operation where I have n1 and n2. I have used one set function. I have used one display function. I will create a demo d object. I'll say d dot set bracket mein I'm passing 40, 20. And I'm saying d dot display and I'm trying to display n1 and n2 value. If you try to compile this code, no doubt this will work absolutely fine for me. Let us check. It is displaying n1 value and n2 value properly. Okay. Now, let us understand the flow now. I have a class demo. I'll take it over here. This is a class example. Okay. Now, if you observe this code, this is the class, this is the object demo D, which I have created. So this is D. I have said D dot set is equal to 40, 20. Means obviously it will go into this set function. Assume this is my set function. And inside this set function, I have two variables, one which I'm passing as a num1, second which I'm passing as a num2. That means here num1 and here num2. And this num1 I've passed it as 40, this num2 I've passed it as 20. Obviously, whenever I have created the object, so in my object, I will have a memory allocation for n1 and for n2. Do you all agree? Everyone? क्योंकि जब मैं ऑब्जेक्ट बनाती हूं तो उसके डेटा मेंबर्स के लिए मेरे ऑब्जेक्ट में जगह मिलती है n1 and n2. Okay. Now, if you tell me over here, in this scenario, this set function is called upon which object? Set function is called upon the object. All right. Now, let us understand the flow. D object ने कॉल किया set function को. Set function के साथ I have passed 40 and 20. So the 40 value will go into num1, 20 value will go into num2. When I'm saying at this point, num1 value should go into n1. Num1 value should go into n1. Num2 value should go into n2. Means ultimately, I am just trying to put the values inside it. Have you understood, everyone, the scenario? At this point, can I say here I am using total 4 variables, right? लेकिन डेटा कितने वेरिएबल्स में है? एक्चुअली तो डेटा दो ही है ना, num1 and n1 both are same, num2 and n2 both are seen. Are you getting? Means actually I want to point to the same variable data. यहाँ पे मुझे 4 variables यूज करने पड़ रहे हैं. Can I write, the question is, can I write a void set function? ब्रैकेट में I will pass integer n1 and integer n2, और मैं कंपाइलर को बोलती हूँ n1 is equal to n2, n2 is equal to n2. Can I write my function like this? Can you write like this? Here this is n1 is equal to n1. Can you write like this in your program? एक ही वेरिएबल को आप खुद से ही इक्वेट कर सकते हो. No, this will give you L value error. Location is wrong. So this is not allowed. But internally तो ऐसे ही हो रहा है ना. इस करंट ऑब्जेक्ट के मैं n1 और n2 को ही पॉइंट कर रही हूँ. इंटरनली तो वही हो रहा है ना. Yes or no? Yes. So I'm using here 4 variables. Internally I'm pointing to the same object only. So I will do the modification. I'll write void set int n1 int n2. I'll say this arrow n1 is equal to n1. I'll say this arrow n2 is equal to n2. What is this? This is basically a keyword which is basically used to hold the current object address. मतलब internally क्या होगा? This के अंदर मेरा D का address store हो जाएगा. And when I'm saying current object n1 value is equal to n1, current object n2 value is equal to n2, this is 100% allowed. I cannot write n1 is equal to n1, n2 is equal to n2, but in an indirect way, I am telling to the compiler on whichever object I have given a call, that is pointing to itself. So this indicates a current pointer, or this indicates holding the address of current object, and this is basically pointing to itself. समझ में आया? Everyone. So this is called as this pointer. So instead of writing here num1 and num2, I will just write n1 and n2. But n1 की value कहाँ पे जानी चाहिए? This arrow n1. This is a pointer, so always use arrow operator. This is n2. Now please tell me here, can I say set function is called upon D object? तो मेरा current object कौन हो गया? Which is my current object now? Obviously it will be D, because that is my current object. That means can I say this is pointing to current object, that is D. तो करंट ऑब्जेक्ट के D के n1 में 40 स्टोर करो, करंट ऑब्जेक्ट के n2 में 20 स्टोर करो. Have I saved my memory space by avoiding writing 2 different variables? Yes. So this is the use of this keyword. So if this is this means pointing to itself. That is a use of this keyword. समझ में आया? Everyone. Did you all get it? So we have seen class, we have seen object. What are the data members and the member functions? Object is also called as instance. It is also called as physical existence. It has some state, it has some behavior. And we have seen something called as this pointer. This is basically used when you wish to point to current object, and that is why we can go for this keyword. समझ में आया? Class is private? Yes, Akshay. Class is by default private, but you can put a restriction on data members as private and member functions as public. Okay. Quickly go through the code and then we can go ahead to the next topic called as functions in C++. Set is predefined word? No, Shreya. Set is basically a function which I have, it is a user defined function. I have defined it for my program. Okay. Yes. Shreya, which point you have not understood? Can you please tell me? Be specific to your queries. जब मैंने यहाँ पे set function को call किया, 40 value will go into n1, 20 value will go into n2, right? I cannot write n1 is equal to n1. It will be a confusion for them. That's the reason I'm saying current object की n1 value में आप n1 की value store करो. Current object के n2 में store n2 value, because ultimately d को भी खुद के n1 n2 values है. So instead of using multiple variables, I'm avoiding by writing that using this keyword. This is basically holds the current object value or the current object address rather, I will say. Okay. हार्दिक d set हुआ. जैसे ही object d बना, then I have got the value n1 and n2. Are you agreeing? Hardik and everyone. Right. N1 and N2 I have said, and I'm saying now I'm giving a call to the set function. Inside this set function, I have passed two values, 40 and 20. And I'm saying N1, 40 should go into current object N1. What is the current object? N1, D is the current object. Please put this 40 value into the current object N1 value. Please put the N2 value into the current object N2. So this is basically called as this keyword. Okay. But in C, it was possible with one variable. No. Haniraj, C में this keyword था ही नहीं. Right. Prashant, I have written these members as private, these as public. If you do not write public or private, by default, the complete class is private. Member functions can be defined into the Pawan. Member functions are declared in the public section, not in the private. The reason is, अगर आप member function को भी public कर दोगे, private कर दोगे, तो फिर class लिखने का मतलब क्या हुआ ना? ना उसके functions को use कर सकते हो, ना उसके data members को use कर सकते हो. Okay? Have you understood? Right. Haniraj, function with passing the arguments. This is what we are doing. We have given a function, set function call by passing the two arguments. Okay. Any more queries or shall I proceed to the next topic, which is called as functions in C++? Shall we proceed? All right. So in this program, we have created D object. D को अब जैसे ही मैं object बनाती हूँ, I'll just explain. Okay. Okay. First of all, as I've created object demo D, in that case, this will be my object which will be created. Can you please tell me by looking at this code, D object के अंदर कौन से variables को जगह मिलेगा? Which variables will get space in my D object? N1 and N2. Very good. N1 and N2. So can I say initially my N1 and N2 both are empty? Obviously, they may have some garbage value, right? I have set D dot set 40 and 20. Will it go to something called as set function? Yes, it will go over here. Now what I have written in the set function, let us observe, means at this point, can I say first value will go as 40, second value will go as 20. The set function is called upon which object? D object. That means, can I say this will be my current object? All right. I am saying to my compiler that whatever n1 value have came, please put it into current object n1. Can I say who is my current object? D. D is my current object. Uski n1 value में please store 40. Can I say this 20, that is N2, is going into current object N2, means now N2 will be set as 20. I hope now you are getting the flow. And I'm coming back from this function to the main. I'm saying D dot display. It will go to current object D dot display. So it will display 40 and 20. The reason is when I'm saying display, it will just display, it is having a display function as N1 and N2. It will observe which N1 and N2 I'm talking about. Which N1 and N2 I'm talking about? Obviously, D object के ऊपर function call हुआ है display, तो वो मुझे D object की ही value display करेगा. That is why I'm again and again writing display function is called upon D object. So it will go to display function. It will search current object N1 value 40. So it will print 40 for me. Current object value is 20. So it will display 20 for me. I hope now it is clear. Good. Let us proceed. I have a function. Let us say I'm writing, now we are moving ahead to the functions in C++. I have already explained the basic meaning of functions to you, right? The structure, the function declaration, the function definition, and the function call. Everything is having the same syntax as far as your C++ is concerned. So when you talk about C++, the function, declaration, definition, and call and its syntax remains the same, right? But there are a few new concepts you should aware about. Can you please tell me, is it a function declaration, definition, or the call? It's just the declaration. Very good. Can you please tell me, is it this function is declared inside the main, inside the class, inside the structure, or in the global area? It is declared in the global area. So I'll say this is a global function. Good. Let me just write it something over here. And I'm writing cout inside test function. Can you please tell me, is it nothing but function declaration, definition, or the call? It is a function definition. Very good. Now, when you talk about main, I will give a call to the main. I will give a call to the function that is nothing but function name, and I'll give a function call, right? This will also work absolutely fine. But when I say in case of C++, If you wish to give a call to global function, you can also use scope resolution operator. Let us compile this. It's giving me, I'm so sorry, we should compile 2_4. Let's just clear the screen and check. It is giving me inside the test function. So why I have written so? The next use of scope resolution operator is scope resolution operator is used to give a call to global function. तो अब तक हमने कितने स्कोप रिजोल्यूशन ऑपरेटर के फंक्शनैलिटीज देखे हैं? Can you please tell me? Yes, 4. The first one was accessing the namespace. The second one was accessing the global variables. The third use was defining the class member function outside its scope. And the fourth is to give a call to global functions. Have you understood? Everyone. Right. Now, do you remember the concept of macros in C programming or pre-processing directives? They get pre-processing directive, Haniraj. I have taught you hash define, hash, you can say pre-processing directives. मैंने लेक्चर में सिखाया था आपको, हैश डिफाइन किया था, फिर हमने हैश डिफाइन एसक्यूआर पास किया था. So in that case, we were saying the macros were basically, yaad aa gaya Haniraj ko, good. So we were basically trying to find or trying to compile the code, and during the compilation phase, the code gets expanded. And what is the major advantage of macro was? The major advantage was program was getting expanded at the same time of location, at the same point of location, and the program execution became fast. Right. Now, if you consider this particular scenario, the one which I've written now as a test function, is it very small functionality? Yes. And it is also, if you remember, whenever there is a function call, a function activation record gets generated. Once the function activation record gets generated, it executes its control and it comes back to the calling area. Means, can I say the switching between main and function is getting placed over here? Everyone? Right. So if I have a very small functionality and I want my function to work similar to your macros, then I can go for something called as inline function. So what is inline? If I declare any function as inline declaration, that function works similar to your macro. That function gets expanded at that location, so it will work in its execution will be in the sequential way. Also, inline function से मेरे function का execution और मेरे program का execution fast होता है. There is no difference in writing the function declaration or the definition. I'll just write integer result. Maybe I'll use n1 is greater than n2, question mark and colon n2. It will say return result. So the function definition is the same. My function is checking maximum of 2 numbers. Whoever will be the maximum will be stored into the result, and I'm returning a result. The return type of the function is integer, but I have preceded my function definition with the keyword inline. Inline functions are getting executed in similar to your macro. And in case of inline function, they gets expanded wherever there is a call. So that is what is about your inline function. The calling part also remains the same. I'm taking, let us say, integer n1 maybe is equal to 40, n2 is equal to 35. And I am giving a call to the function max. I'm passing n1 and n2. Ultimately, I will get some result. So I need a result as a locator for max. And finally, I'm trying to print maximum of two numbers is %D. Rather, I can just write Cout and max is RES. That's it. So let's compile it. Can you see I'm getting the output? So what do you mean by inline? If we try to precede any function with the keyword inline, it gets expanded during the compilation phase. तो वो उसका डेटा इंटरमीडिएट कोड में आ जाता है. समझ में आया? Any questions? Any questions? Okay. Shall I proceed? It works as same as macro. Absolutely correct, Arpit. That's the only way. बिकॉज मेरे फंक्शन की फंक्शनैलिटी बहुत कम है और मैक्रो में अगर आपको याद रहेगा तो मैक्रो में हमें एक्सप्लिसिटली यू कैन से मैक्रोज में हमें कुछ कुछ जगह पे थोड़ा मॉडिफिकेशन करना पड़ रहा था मे बी समथिंग कॉल्ड एज हैश मे बी समथिंग कॉल्ड एज हैश एंड सो ऑन but in case of function using inline we have to follow the exact same you can say syntax the way we go for it okay. Now, let us say I wish to write one function display. And I'm saying I'll just give a call to this display function and I'll write a display function declaration. And I will write another function declaration. And here I'll just write printf inside normal display function. It's the very simple function. This is declaration, this is definition, this is the call. So let us compile this code and check. I'm going to get inside display function, right? Now, suppose I'm writing display 10. Yes, I should use Cout. Okay, I'll put end L manipulator. Okay, now if I'm saying display 10, in C programming, it was not allowed to have the same function name in the same program. 10 is one integer value, right? Means can I say यहाँ पे इसका declaration ऐसे हो सकता है? Have you understood the declaration part? Right. How will I define it? Obviously, I'll define Cout again inside display integer. So let us say I'm displaying value A and I'm saying end L. So whatever user will pass, it will go to A, it will display that A value and it will end the line. Let us compile and check. Can you see I'm getting this? Right. Similarly, suppose I'm saying void display integer A, integer B. Means can I say now my display function is taking 2 arguments. Again, I'll say inside display int comma int and A and I'm saying B. So it will display A and B value. Obviously, I have to give a call 40 and 30. Let's compile. Let us execute. Can you see this? Next, can I say here, I'll pass float. So here, maybe I'll pass display and I'll say 50, 60.5 F. F indicates float. So again, this will be same, but here I've given float B. So here I'll pass float B. So inside int comma float. So first was integer, it will go into this block. Second was two integers, it will go into this particular block. Integer comma integer A, and I'm saying space and B. Next time I'm passing one integer, another float. So it will go into this one integer, another as float, right? So I am using, in short, I'm using same function name with different number of arguments. Can I say like this? Right? Let us compile. Somewhere I have, okay, but can you see it is displaying me the proper details? So it is like I am using same function name with different number of arguments. Can I say display function is taking multiple arguments? If some function is taking multiple arguments, then that is called as a concept of polymorphism. And that concept is called as function overloading. So what is function overloading? A function overloading is a concept in which we have the same function name with a different number of arguments. But the rule is the number of arguments must be different. Second rule is if I'm having equal number of arguments, for example, 10 number line and 11 number line, I have two arguments which are declared, but the data type should vary or the sequence should vary. This can be the rule. So if something is taking multiple forms, then that is called as polymorphism. If your function is defined in some program, and if that function is taking multiple number of arguments, then we can say this is basically function overloading concept. समझ में आया? Have you understood? This is the example of function overloading. जहां पे आपने display नाम का same function लिखा, but number of arguments अलग अलग pass किए, and that is function overloading. Okay, quickly go through the code. Okay, you can pass same values, Rishikesh, but the data type that you are passing should be different. Okay, Sanket, can you say when I have given this display, मैंने 0 argument pass किया है, it is going and giving me this output into this function. When I have given display function call, I have passed one integer value, it will go into this respective function definition and it is displaying me the integer value. When I have given a call to again display function by passing two arguments, so it is going inside integer A and integer B. So it is displaying me the value of A and B properly. When I have passed one integer and one float value, it is going inside integer and float value and it is displaying me the details. So based on the function call, I am going inside the different function body. But the scenario is, यहाँ पे मेरा function का नाम same है. That is called as function overloading. Is it fine? Hope you have understood. Huh. Sequence of data. Abhi, for example, सपोज हार्दिक मैं पास करती हूँ डिस्प्ले एंड लेट अस से मैं पास करती हूँ एक कैरेक्टर ए एंड मैं एक पास करती हूँ 50, right? So first argument I have passed as character and second argument I have passed this as integer. Do I have a function declaration for it? No. Do I have a function definition for it? No. So obviously let us observe the error type now. Okay, it is basically considering your integer and integer. Can you see? ये खुद से ट्राई कर रहा है मैच करने का. A is considered as integer, 50 is considered as integer. तो उसने integer और integer value compare किया. But suppose अगर मैं यहाँ पे बोलती हूँ 50.5 or let us say the first argument I'm passing as 50.5 and second argument I'm passing as A character. The third argument I'm passing as B character. Means pehla argument is of type float, second argument is of type character, third argument is of type character. Do I have a function declaration for them? Answer is no. So can you see it is saying candidate expects 2 arguments and you have provided 3 arguments. It is giving me error. We have a normal display function and it is giving me no matching for the function call display double character. अब समझ में आया? So it is not necessary कि आप उसको क्या data provide कर रहे हो. It is necessary that when you are writing the same function name in the same program, you must have different number of arguments within it. If you do not write different number of arguments, in that case, it will not basically execute your program in a correct way. And second important thing is if you are writing the program which is having same number of arguments, that is 2 and 2, at least the sequence should change or at least the data type should change. That is more important. All right. Is it okay? Sit there. Okay. So let us try to display the F value over here, then C1 value over here, right, C1 and C2 value over here. I'll save it. अब वो मुझे error नहीं देगा. ये slash n works. endl भी चलता है, slash n भी चलता है. Both works. Error have gone. It is displaying me the details properly. This concept is called as function overloading concept. Any doubts so far? No. If no, then let us go ahead to the next concept, which is called as different member functions of the class. So we have seen functions, which is called as user-defined functions. We have seen inline functions. We have seen default argument. Okay, we will see first default argument. And we have seen function overloading concept. And also we have seen scope resolution operator. Now we will proceed. What is default argument concept? Now, suppose I have a main function in which, let us say I have a display function. I'm passing integer A, integer B, integer C, and integer D. I just wish to display the value of A, B, C, and D. So A, then B, this is B, this is C, and I'll say this is D. Let's say and L. If I wish to give a call to display function, I'll pass 10, 20, 30, 40. The first value will be going into A, second will go into B, next will go into 30 will go into C, 40 will go into D. Is it okay? ये simple function है, right? Why no, Devidas and Sanket? Rishikesh? Rishi? You did not get this program? It's very simple. This is a function declaration. This is the main. This is a function call. This is function definition. First value will go into A. I'm displaying that value. Second value will go into B. I'm displaying that value. Third value will go into C. I'm displaying. And fourth, I'm displaying that value. Okay. Rishi and Devidas, did you get it? All right. एटलीस्ट सपोज कि यस नो लिखने के बाद समझ में आया तो यस लिखो, तो समझ में आता है कि यस यू आर देयर. ओके, नाउ सपोज आई एम सेइंग आई हैव रिटन डिस्प्ले फंक्शन एंड इफ आई से आई एम जस्ट पासिंग 10, 20 and 30, will it work for me? Will it work for me? Will it give a function call? How it is possible? मैंने 4 आर्गुमेंट दिए हैं, फंक्शन कॉल के टाइम मैंने उसको 3 ही आर्गुमेंट दिए, तो कैसे चलेगा? It will give me error. Too few arguments to the function. Can you see this? Can you see this? Everyone? Right. It is because my function is expecting 4 values and you have passed only 2 values to that function. Correct? So what is the solution? Suppose मैं अब यहाँ पे इसको वैल्यू दे देती हूँ 400. Okay. Now observe. Can you see it's not giving me error now? Yes. Let us observe the execution. It's giving me 10 for A. It's giving 20 for B. It's giving 30 for C. It is giving 400 for D. At this point, I will say this concept is called as default argument concept. What we do in case of default argument, at the time of function declaration, we assign some default values to it. Let us consider a real-time scenario. Suppose you are filling the form. You are writing name. You are writing, let us say, mobile, right? And maybe you are writing age and you are writing email. And you are saying, maybe I have phone. And I'm saying submit. Now what happens in this scenario? The user will enter some name, user will enter some mobile number, user will enter some age, user will enter email, and user will enter phone. Suppose I have a user 1 and I have a user 2. जैसे ही मेरा यूजर सबमिट बटन पे क्लिक करता है, I am giving a function call. ठीक है? And that function call is nothing but, let us say, display function call with some arguments, obviously. Now, if user 1 have entered all the 5 fields, field 1, let us say name, let us say some mobile, let us say some age, let us say some email, right? Some email address, and let us say some phone number, right? At this point, obviously, all the 5 fields will be displayed properly. Do you all agree? Everyone? Right. But If I say there is one another user, right? That user is giving me the first name, is giving me the mobile number, is giving me age, is giving me email, but it is not giving me the next field called as phone number. उसके पास phone number नहीं है. That means, can I say जब मैं अब display function को call करूंगी, my 4 arguments will be getting passed and ये argument नहीं जाएगा. अगर ये आर्गुमेंट नहीं जाएगा तो क्या मेरा एप्लीकेशन क्रैश होगा? Of course, yes. So what I'll do, if the user is not entering phone number, put that value as 0. तो जब मेरा फंक्शन कॉल होगा तो पहला वैल्यू एबीसी, सेकंड वैल्यू दिस, थर्ड वैल्यू 12, नेक्स्ट वैल्यू @ फिफ्थ वैल्यू 0. अब मेरा एप्लीकेशन जब डिस्प्ले को कॉल करेगा, will my application crash? Will the application will crash? Obviously no. It is like, if the user is providing me all the 5 values, then those values will be replaced and those values are getting displayed. But if one of the value user is not providing, I will give some default value to that argument and that value will be displayed accordingly. So what is the use of default argument? Default arguments are basically used whenever you want to go for कि मुझे कुछ numbers maybe user नहीं provide करेगा तो मैं खुद के values उसको provide करूंगी as a default values. समझ में आया? So अगर मैंने यहाँ पे default argument value नहीं दिया रहता था तो मुझे error आया कि too few arguments. So default argument concept is basically assigning some default values to the function arguments at the time of declaration only. You cannot write here again and again. It will automatically fetch. How to assign default argument? By using equal to operator. Suppose अब मैंने 300 लिखा, right? In that case, अगर यूजर ने सिर्फ पहला एंड दूसरा वैल्यू ही पास किया, it will take the default value as 300 and 400. Can you see this? Right? Next, suppose user ने अभी 200 दिया. It should be from right to left. You have to follow the syntax. It should not be in a random way. आप कॉमा कॉमा के साथ नहीं कर सकते हो. You can give any data type. Can you see? Now I am giving, let us say, a display function call by passing only one value. Second will be default, third will be default, fourth will be default. It is not necessary to give a default value. But in some of the scenario, अगर आपको पता है कि मेरा फॉर्म फिल करने के टाइम यूजर कुछ फील्ड्स ब्लैंक रखने वाला है, in that case compulsory you should go for some default values to avoid your application from your crashing. अब यूजर ने डिस्प्ले लिखा लेकिन उसने क्या किया, अब मुझे डिफॉल्ट वैल्यूज दे दिया. And if I'm saying I'm giving 1, 2, 3 and 4, in this case the default values will not be assigned. It will be replaced with 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it okay, everyone? ठीक है? Yes. So this concept is called as default argument concept. Any more questions so far? You cannot. That's what Muskan I said. आप अगर डिस्प्ले फंक्शन में कॉमा कॉमा 10 19 9 ऐसे दे रहे हो तो दिस इज नॉट अलाउड. दैट विल बी अ रॉन्ग सिंटैक्स. If you wish to assign a default arguments to in C++, then compulsory you have to start writing the default arguments from the right hand side to the left hand side. तो एक्सट्रीम लेफ्ट वाला एक्सट्रीम राइट वाला नहीं दिया तो वो अलोकेट हो जाएगा. एक्सट्रीम दो राइट वाले नहीं दिए, इट विल गेट अलोकेटेड ऑटोमेटिकली. Is it fine? Yes, you can, Atharva. Any argument will be fine. आप फ्लोट डिफाइन करो, कैरेक्टर डिफाइन करो, जैसे आपको फंक्शन के अंदर आर्ग्यूमेंट्स पास करने हैं आप वैसे असाइन कर सकते हो. इज इट ओके? All right. So this was about your default arguments concept. We will go ahead to the next topic, which is called as member functions of the class. There are different member functions within the class. Can you please tell me in this example, I'll go into some class, right? In this function, in this class, can you please tell me how many member functions I have declared within the class? 2 member functions. Why I'm calling them as a member functions? Because these are the functions which are defined inside the demo class. Correct? Similarly, when I say these are, can I say ये set, display, ये दोनों user defined functions है? Can I say like this? Yes. So if I say I'm defining my own functions in the class, then those are called as user defined member function. User defined member functions को हम बोलते हैं facilitators. But along with that, I have constructor, destructor, mutators, and inspectors. These are the different member functions within the class that we can go for. So what we can do is, first we'll take a break, and then I will explain you in detail about what do you mean by constructor, destructor, mutators, inspectors, and getters and setters. So this is the basic fundamental of different types of member functions in the class. First, I'll explain the concept and we will write the program based on it. Okay, so let's take 15 minutes break and then we can continue. All right, so I'll stop as a first part of the program.